Hey, this is a new camera, so I'm going to test it out. Driving the streets of London from Aldgate all the way to Covent Garden. Let's see if I die or let's see if I make it. Let's see how stable this camera is. So let's go.
Okay, slightly different video today for the main reason I've finally invested in a new camera. Finally, you say. I was using a iPhone 7 for all my videos. So basically it tells you you don't need anything impressive to start a YouTube channel. I'm a case in point. Not the most impressive YouTube channel, granted, but an iPhone 7 suited me well for a very long time. I've got this new Sony FDR 3000. It's an action cam. I've got it at the moment. It's attached to my bike, and yeah, it's probably not as stable as it could be. But this is me testing it out while driving along Aldgate High Street and heading towards Covent Garden, as I mentioned earlier. In London, there's a lot of bike lanes, and despite what people say, it's actually a pretty safe city to ride. Don't tell anyone, but yes, I did just go through a red light, and there's another one. Sometimes you can. Just got to watch. The key is you've got to be understanding where the traffic is turning. For example, that bus I could see was going straight, so it was protecting me from any traffic that was going to be turning to the left. So it makes that red light acceptable. Of course, there's the bike purists that think they're going to stop at every single red light. The way I see it, if you get to a pedestrian crossing and there's pedestrians there, always stop. But if you get to a pedestrian crossing and there's a red light and no one's there, just keep going. There's no point waiting around, waiting for people to, or waiting for traffic lights when there's no need. For example, in America, you can do a right turn because they drive on the right in America. In the UK, obviously, we drive on the left, so it should be completely legal to do a left turn if people actually thought about it. But we live in this backward country where it's frowned upon to go through a red light. Now, a classic example here: red light, bus turning, wait for it, and then you can go. You're not bothering any pedestrians, you're not bothering any traffic, and you're staying in bike lanes. You're not breaking in, you're not causing any harm in my mind. And I've been cycling in London for 20 plus years. Touch wood, never had a problem. So heading into the city, this is the city of London. I'm going to be heading along Fenchurch Street, and you start to see all the sort of glitzy glass skyscrapers. I used to work in the Heron Tower, which is just to the right, and the big shiny one you can see up front is known as the Scalpel. And heading on the street, you get to Fenchurch Station, which will be on the left. I think it's roughly around that sort of big glass building that's coming up, that's near the station. "20 miles per hour speed limits in London." Almost cycling that. I have to admit, my bike is worth about £20 on the black market. That's exactly what I bought it for. And the reason for that, I've had bikes stolen in London. There's no point, sadly, in having an expensive bike in London, because if you have an expensive bike that looks good, then the scallywags, the scumbags will take your bike and steal it. You can lock it with 2 locks, 3 locks. If they want it, they're going to get it. But the way I see it, my lock is always locked with 2 locks. It looks kind of crap, so who wants to steal it? Plus there's all these free bikes now. You see the yellow ones that just went past? That free bike can be used. You can access it via an app. You can access via your credit card. And I say free, not free. You obviously still have to pay. It's normally like, £1 access charge depending on the bike. I know the Mo bikes are £1. Boris bikes are £2 for 24 hours. What else is there? There's like a barrel bike, which is I think £1 to access it. Then you pay every minute. There's a few. The Lime bike's another one. It's an electric bike hosted by this company Lime. You see them all over Europe. Not bad. My favorite actually is the new Uber bike. The bike's very easy to ride. Little expensive though. Literally £1 to access it. But by the time you've done a 10-minute journey, you've already spent at least £2. So if you're going to be riding an Uber bike for more than 10 minutes, you're going to be spending a lot more than a Boris bike, which will cost you £2 a day. However, the advantage is it does have a motor, so you could be cycling a lot faster than what I'm doing here. It's fairly common for guys on electric bikes to be overtaking me on up hills, from, like, for example, Angel to King's Cross is a big steep hill. If you're on an electric bike, you're going to overtake me, no problem. I have no shame in admitting that. I will be pedaling away up a very steep hill. So here we are, approaching the bank. The Bank of England will be coming up here very soon. I'm trying to remember the name of the street. I think this is Lombard Street. And no, is it Lombard Street? Yeah, it is. It's Lombard Street. And it turns into the Bank of England. Obviously, this is where all the financial institutions are. This is Bank Station. Can you hear the noise? Stag party. I think they're going to have a race. Who's going to win? The one on the left or the one on the right? Place your bets. Place your bets. Looks like the one on the left got a better start, despite the people pushing it. I think the one on the left has won, defeated until the next set of traffic lights. You see these things all over London at the weekends, sometimes in the evenings as well. On the weekdays, you have corporate sort of parties during the weekdays, stag do's during the weekends. Always in good fun, but you see those things all over Europe and probably all over the world. Good bit of exercise while having a good, a bit of drink. Now up here we're just sort of heading in the direction of St Paul's, and just about to cross over King Street, Queen Street to my left, and King Street to my right. This is one of my favourite streets in London. We've got a great pub up here on the left called the Watling. Many an hour has been stood outside this pub just here, Ye Old Watling. It's a great pub. And up ahead, sight you'll recognise, St Paul's Cathedral. Obviously these streets are fairly quiet because this is a Saturday. Grey skies, typical of London. Not always grey skies. Sometimes we do have beautiful weather. Hopefully I can illustrate to you some blue skies in a future video. But today, grey skies, but it's fairly warm. You could wear a t-shirt today. It's about 22, 23 degrees Celsius. Excuse American watchers, you have to convert the to yourself. We don't think in Fahrenheit over here. Carefully go past the pedestrians. Obviously this is allowed. It's a cycle path, even though it's a pavement, I think. So just cycle carefully when you get it. You have to go onto pavements, but try to avoid cycling on pavements. I'm an advocate of jumping red lights if you can do it, but if you're a cyclist, try to avoid cycling on pavements. There's nothing worse than being a pedestrian and having a cyclist speed past you. So if you must go on a pavement, go very slowly. St Paul's, one of the few buildings in this area that literally wasn't bombed by the Luftwaffe in the Second World War. And I think for good reason, not because of an act of God, but because the German Luftwaffe, when they were targeting their bombs and just indiscriminately carpet bombing, they of course would see St. Paul's from the sky. Now, would you want to be one of the Germans that was responsible for bombing one of the biggest churches in Europe at the time? So, a very easy target to avoid. So literally all these buildings around it were decimated, but St. Paul's survived. Just to show you how crowded St. Paul's is on a Saturday, let's do a little turn here. A lot of people at the steps. If you want to go in, you can pay, and you can pay to go at the top. I highly recommend it. It's an amazing view at the top. Great climb, actually. Certainly give your thighs a bit of a workout. See, it's red, but just slowly avoid the pedestrians. No harm is done. I haven't annoyed anyone. I'm not holding up traffic either. So this is the street that leads down to Fleet Street. Actually, and this is Fleet Place, and now with the Old Bailey on the right, that's where Tommy Robinson was recently sent to prison because he's an enemy of the state. The prison authorities wanted to silence him by basically saying that he was a criminal because he's reporting on, telling the truth. Your liberal mates would disagree with me, but that's because they've been brainwashed by The Guardian, the BBC, the fake news media. Crossing over here, this is now Fleet Street, one of the most famous streets in London back in the day. If you had any sort of interest in journalism, this is where all the newspapers used to be. There's no newspapers around here, but this building on the right is the Goldman Sachs building. So, still one of the masters of the universe that controls the globe is still here, but none of the press are here. The press have moved to other locations, some near the Canary Wharf, some in other places. You can probably tell me better. But it used to be back in the day, all of the journalists would hang out in these pubs. Now it just tends to be bankers and local soliciting firms, lawyers. There's a few tech companies around here. Old London buses now being used as tour buses. I have to admit, I'm not a big fan of the London tourist tour buses. I think they're a massive rip-off. I think if you spend a little time just sort of doing research yourself, using guidebooks, using the internet, using these normal buses where you can ride on the top deck, you'll have a better London experience than going on one of these overpriced tour buses. And use the locals. Not every local is a rude person. Feel free to message me anytime. I'll try to offer some advice. Let me know where you're watching from. It's always good to hear in the comments where viewers are, and just leave your location. I'd love to know. Very old London pub just there. This is the Royal Courts of Justice, and the main entrance is just here on the right, actually just past the crossing. It's here. Hopefully I'll never have to be there, but who knows. The state does have is encroaching on our liberties. Another good pub, great pub actually, and this is the Strand. It just went past the Australian High Commission. And to my left, King's College London. Has to be said, the Student Union Bar at King's College London probably has the best view out of all the Student Union bars. It literally looks over the Thames. You can drink cheap beers and do shots while having a great view. Obviously, if you're a student, those days are gone, sadly, for me. Safely going over. Love how this car is just sort of randomly parked itself here. Try not to get hit by a van or a bus. Honestly, the roads are very safe. And this is what we refer to as the Strand. Strand Station, no longer functioning. Still King's College. And here's Somerset House. This is where I'm supposed to be going to meet someone. Let's see if I can cycle in here. Nope. Yep, that was the entrance. I have to turn around. In we go. So in Somerset House, they put on a lot of different screenings. In the summer, you might have open air cinema. In the winter, you'll have open air ice rink, which is an amazing thing to do. So this whole area from the walls onwards is a big ice rink. They often have concerts here. I can't remember the last concert I saw here, but it was certainly a long time ago. Normally, the concerts are very sort of mainstream commercial music. You're not going to have anyone sort of making massive waves. Yeah, she doesn't want me cycling.
Okay. Where's the bar? There's a bar around here. I'll park my bike. There's a bar.
You can't park here bikes.
Where's the bar? I'm asking where the bar is.
What's your bar?
Okay.
You can't cycle inside, please.
Well, I'm going now. So.
You still can't.
Look, I can.
Okay, yep, I was breaking the rules. You're not allowed to cycle in Somerset House. C'est la vie. Look, kids, don't cycle in Somerset House. Problem is, there's nowhere to park your bike around here. If you try and find places to park a bike, you're struggling. London Mayor, if you could stop virtue signalling about the Orange Man, it would be beneficial to install some places to park bikes near the Strand. I'm sure he's not listening to this, but hopefully he's going to be resigning soon, because he's possibly London's worst mayor. So pub up ahead is the Wellington. Waterloo Bridge to my left. Try not to get run over. And up ahead, the Lyceum Theatre. For some reason, I think The Lion King has been on there since 1996. A long time. I have no idea how it's remained so popular. I went to see it once. The Disney movie is 10 times better, and I'm talking about the original one. I haven't seen the new one. The musical, yeah, it wasn't great, but everyone seems to love it, apart from me. There's a bar down there just to my left. There's a Lyceum Theatre. This is Covent Garden, effectively. This is literally the edge of Covent Garden. Now I'm going to go find somewhere to park my bike. Really appreciate you guys watching. If you made it this far, I'm impressed. There you see on the left a load of Boris bikes. So you don't have to have your own bike in London. You can just rent bikes. It's far easier to park a Boris bike than it is actually to park a real bike, because you can see places to park Boris bikes, but nowhere for me to park my bike. So I'm going to have to find somewhere that it's not illegal. Sometimes you can tie it to a lamppost, railings. There we go. There's some bikes over here, so I think this is going to work. Not all railings you can park against. The risk is it's going to get taken away. But I think this is a safe spot. Anyway, thank you.